What's going on, everybody? My name is Josie. Welcome back to the channel. Merry Christmas Eve or Merry Christmas, depending on when you're watching this. If you're watching it outside of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, Happy New Year's Eve. But we're going to be talking about Damien Chazelle's latest feature film, Babylon, the film that tells the story of the rise and fall of multiple characters during an era of unbridled decadence and depravity in early Hollywood. I was really excited for this film, mostly because Damien Chazelle is one of the best upcoming directors that we've had in a couple of years. He splashed on the screens with Whiplash, then he went to La La Land, First Man, and now this is his next ambitious film, and the trailers look very exciting and very different, and that is what I really loved about this film. So let's go ahead and get started with the positives that I have for this film, because there are a lot of positives that I have for this film. This film stars Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and they are fan-freaking-tastic. Every single time that they are on screen, they ignite the fuse of the flame that this film carries, and I really loved their performance. I thought they had chemistry with everybody that they were interacting, but even though they don't really interact together all too much, every single time that these two were on screen separately, they were fantastic. Margot Robbie is a class act. She is wildly ambitious with every single project that she takes on, and this is a wildly different role than we've actually ever seen her to a degree. I mean, she kind of played the same character to a degree in Wolf of Wall Street. In this film, she is more of the cokehead wild party type of girl, and she was just absolutely fantastic. She is, with every single moment that she was on screen, she just lights up the scene, and she just had a wonderful energy to her, especially during a scene where she is supposed to fake cry, and I thought she was fantastic. Brad Pitt kind of played the same role that he played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He is this actor who doesn't really get the limelight that he has, and so whenever he tries to make something ambitious, people really don't see him as a well-trained actor. And this film starts off with the 1920s, I believe, and goes into modern days, revolutionized the film industry as far as going from silent films to sound, and what kind of challenges that prevailed. And there were some fantastic performances in this film. There are a lot of people that don't really get the limelight that I kind of wish did. One in particular, because I love her, is Samara Weaving. I thought she was fantastic. She doesn't have a lot of screen time in this movie, but when she was on screen, I thought she was fantastic, and I kind of wanted a little bit more because I really like what they were going with her character. You also have Diego Calva, who plays Manny Torres, who falls in love with Margot Robbie's Nellie Leroy, and I thought they had chemistry. They had perfect chemistry that I bought into the relationship from beginning to end. You see their struggles as a couple and in this film industry, and I think that worked very well. And to me, I don't think I've ever seen a film or a project with Diego Calva in it. This was my introduction to him, and I absolutely loved him. He does have a bit of a assholey quality that you see in a lot of characters like this, but for the most part, his chemistry with Margot Robbie was there. I felt it from beginning to end. I really bought what they were selling, and from beginning to end, whenever he was on screen, I thought he was fantastic. He was one of the best supporting actors. This movie has a very wild and ambitious quality to its premise, because there are a lot of things in this film that you kind of see Damien Chazelle take a lot of inspiration from his earlier films, whether you're talking about the same style of music from La La Land, or you're taking things from Wolf of Wall Street and mashing those two things up. I thought it worked very well. There was a very nice style to it, and you can definitely tell that this is a Damien Chazelle movie, and that's what I loved about this film, because he has a very nice sense of direction. He knows how to position cameras. I thought the cinematography was fantastic. The costume design and a lot of the party scenes in this film were fantastic, and it draws you into this world. And that is where it goes into some of my negatives, because this movie is about 3 hours and 9 minutes long. This type of movie did not need to feel this long. It did not need to be this long. And I know I am one to complain for long movies, but with this one, you do feel the dragness of this 3-hour runtime, mostly because there is a big party segment in the first 30 minutes. Once the film starts, and it starts with a very non-stop party roll, I get what he was trying to go for, but once that whole segment ends and the title screen actually pops up 30 minutes into the film, and once the movie starting from that moment that you have the title card pops up, it feels like it is a completely different movie. It did not feel like it was in conjunction with those first 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes do feel more like a prologue, and that is something that I would have cut out to make the film a little bit shorter. Plus, there are a huge segment in the middling act that really drags on for far too long. There's nothing interesting that actually happens. Some of the characters that are introduced halfway through don't really get me invested at all. And I almost walked out as soon as Tobey Maguire was going to show up, and that was going to be one of the biggest disappointments for me because I was really excited to see Tobey Maguire. It's not that he doesn't have a huge part, and this is one of the positive things that I forgot to mention, but what they do with Tobey Maguire's character in this movie is unexpectedly different. It was unexpectedly different. It went in a direction that I was not expecting it to go, and that is where the film started to pick up a little bit for me. But it's just the fact that this movie does feel like it's dragging on for way too long. You could have cut out an hour from this movie and you would have had a wonderful film. I think if you had cut out about an hour of this film, this movie might have ended up being in my top 10 films of the year. I really loved a lot of this movie. It is a very ambitious project for Damien Chazelle, and I love that he took this type of approach. And once you get to the ending, without spoiling it, it does feel like this entire time, this whole 3-hour runtime, does feel like a love letter to films. You see the progression in this film of going from silent films to movies with sound, and you see how that affects a lot of people. You see the trials and tribulations of trying to get a scene done and what kind of struggles they probably had to go through in order for them to get everything as perfect as it possibly can. And that is something that I loved and I appreciated about this film. With the caveat that I watched this movie right after work, so if I watch it again, then maybe this movie will probably have that La La Land effect, where I watched La La Land for the first time and I thought it was a fine movie, but then I watched it again for the first time in forever during the pandemic. Then that is when I really absolutely loved that film. But the music in this film was fantastic. The set design, the costuming, the performances, the direction, everything about this film was absolutely wild, fun, and different for Damien Chazelle. With this movie, you do feel that 3-hour runtime. You do feel it to a degree, and that is one of the biggest issues that I have with this movie, because there is so much pacing issues in that middling section. Once we get into the hour-and-a-half mark, that is when this movie starts to drag and drag and drag, and you just want this film to be over. Is this a movie that I'm going to rewatch in the next couple of weeks? Probably not. I'm probably going to wait until it's on streaming or I can rent it. I love the ambitiousness that Damien Chazelle went for in this movie. It hit all the right notes that you expect from a Damien Chazelle movie. It's just that runtime does feel like it's dragging on way too long. Not only just like spliced up the first 30 minutes, but also cut out a couple of lingering things in that middle section that I absolutely thought could have been cut out and unnecessary for this film. But overall, I would recommend Babylon. I think it is a wildly different movie that I did not see coming. There are a lot of things that I really loved about this movie and I appreciate it, but it's just you do feel that runtime to a degree, and that is one of the biggest factors for me. Especially if you're somebody that doesn't really do well with 3-hour movies. This movie is going to drag on forever. So if you're into 3-hour movies, definitely check this film out in theaters. But if you have a hard time with really slow moving 3-hour films, I would suggest that you wait for this movie to come out on streaming or wait for it to come on VOD and probably check it out then. But those are my thoughts on Babylon. Have you guys got a chance to check it out? Did you like it? Did you not? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Also, let me know what is your favorite Damien Chazelle film. Go ahead and drop those thoughts in the comments below. And if you like this video, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more videos like this. Click that bell notification so you get notified every single time that a video pops up. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.